Alright, so in this video, I'm going to show you the other features that come with RemoSharp to enhance our collaboration in real time. And yeah, let's get to it. So you may have already noticed that RemoSharp, as one of these features, shows where other people are interacting with the canvas. So over here, we can have user number 2, like showing up on other people's canvases. Maybe like user number 4 is also like around. And this allows us to see what other people are like, where they're looking at, what they're doing with the canvas to some extent. But we also have these buttons showing up. These buttons allow us to share our inputs, update our components, update drawings and scribbles, look in different places, select components, and display some extra information on canvas. In this video, I'm going to show you like how to use these buttons in a little bit more detail. Yep, but just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to open the RemoSharp panel and I'm going to disconnect. Once I disconnect, as you may notice, all of these buttons disappear. So this means that, well, we're not connected to anywhere. And if I delete everything here, then it's not going to do that. It's not going to do anything for the other people connected to that session. But if I connect again, there we go. We have, of course, all of those nice components coming in. On the top of that, we have these buttons come. So let's get to it. In previous videos, I already mentioned that RemoSharp allows us to share our script, and it allows us to have different inputs for our script from different places to explore the same script from different sets of values. That's basically like a built-in feature for RemoSharp. But if you want to share your values, if you want to share your input values, then that also is an option. So if I select one slider here, and if I highlight it with the turn the parameter component shareable like this, it gets highlighted. And from this point, if I start moving the component around, if I start changing the slider, it will update other components from other scripts. And it works with pretty much all the different input values here too. So if I want to have more decimals in places, I can do that. One thing to be mindful of is that, particularly with the types of, well, parameters and input parameters in Grasshopper that requires you to drag something, sometimes it doesn't update the final value on other people's canvases. So let's say I'm going to like do some drags around here, and like that. I mean, it is working pretty well in this point. However, as you may see here, we have different values set on these sliders. How I would use it is usually if I see like the kind of value that I like, I would put it there. And with a double click, I would set the actual value that I want, just like that. And this one single update would update all the other sliders and all the other components on other canvases to that specific value that I want. Now, I can do almost the same thing with this component over here. Now in this case, as you can see, the one on the bottom didn't update to the last value. So I'm going to middle click and re-enable it. So that's going to send the final value that I want everybody else to have. So that's one thing. The second thing that we have to be mindful about is that this sharing of my input values is always one way. Of course, you can use it for other types of components too. So if I, let's say, set this to 500, it will update other people's scripts, but it's always a one-way update. If I have somebody change the slider back to some other value, on a non-highlighted component, it will not come back. So if this person wants to, well, change this value, they have to highlight it first, make it a shareable component, and they have to have their own value. Once a value comes in and you have this component highlighted, the highlight will disappear. It's always 1. So if I want to set a new value for other people, again, I have to highlight and set the new value. Again, over here, as you can see, the highlight is, the color of the highlight might be different depending on the version of Rhino and Rust we're using. And the buttons themselves also might have slightly different display, but the functions are basically the same. Right, so that was to share your, well, the value of your components. The second button allows us to share the attributes and the contents of other components too. So for example, if I feel like maybe these 3 components, they shouldn't really be like displayed, I can always middle click and disable the preview. But of course, this will disable the preview on my script. But if I want this disabled on everybody else's computers, so I can select the components that I want to be shared, and I can synchronize these selected components by just pushing the second button and pushing. So this will disable the display on those components on other people's canvases. So that's another way of like sharing those kinds of information. This update works on the content of other components too. So let's say if I have like an expression component, and if I update the formula, maybe I just want to have an x plus y, and if I update it like this, well, I need to select the component and I need to update it just like this, and that will send the final basic script to the other canvases. And it basically works on scripts too. So if I have something like a Python script, if I want to change this value over here to something like 120, that also is doable. Of course, like I have 120 over here, but still I haven't updated my script for them. So I can select this script component, push the synchronize component button, and say OK. So that will update the script for everybody. Same thing with a C# component. So in here, if I double click, and maybe I don't want to like output a new box in here, so I can delete it, or maybe I can even like comment it out so that it does not work, and say OK. It will update my script over here, and I can update it for other people too. I'm going to close here, and yep, as you can see, it got updated. And it works with changing the number of input values and output values too. So if I, let's say, add a couple of inputs and update it again, it works just fine. It will update the latest script. As you can see, like we have the comments in here. It will update the latest script, and it will update all the inputs that I added to the component itself. So these two buttons are kind of similar, but you can like imagine it as input sharing and component sharing. So these are the slightly different use cases for these two. Right. One last thing about sharing your scripts is that if I make a change to this component, maybe I'm going to like make it ×2, and I want to share this component without using this button, rewiring also updates scripts. The same for a C# component. So if I rewire the same wire, it doesn't need to be a new wire. If I rewire the same wire over here, it will update everything else. And as you may notice here, we have Rhino 8 on the right side and Rhino 7 on the left side, and the C# component actually got deprecated with the new Rhino 8. So you need to have an updated C# script in Rhino 8. It will work between Rhino 8 and 8. However, the new components in Rhino 8 don't really work in Rhino 7. So if you're going to be collaborating with somebody here, I would suggest you would choose the kind of components that work with everybody. Right. So let's take a look at the annotation sharing. So over here, if I draw something with my pencil, well, the drawing will get updated. Drawing will be generated from for other people, and if they move it around, well, it will move around here. However, if I change the display of this drawing like this, it will not be updated automatically. So I need to select the scribble. I need to select the drawing, and if I push the button here, it will update it, just like that. Now, if I have multiple updates, let's say I want to change this color, I want to change the thickness on this one, and if I want to change the line type and the color, maybe I'll make it a little more greenish. And let's make this one a dotted line with a lot smaller dots. Now I have many different updates, and I might not really remember which one of these drawings I updated. So it's just easier to not select anything and just push the button over here for drawings and say, yes, I want to update all my drawings. So doing that will update everything from this canvas for everybody else. So there's one extra thing that we should be mindful about sharing our drawings. Scribbles, on the other hand, they would update automatically on when you change something. So let's say I'm going to change this scribble over here, and instead of a string, I want to have each one of these letters in a new line. Once I do that, then it will update on other places. So you don't need to worry about scribbles with this button over here. Right. The next three buttons are more like to display information for other people and for yourself. So if, let's say, I want to take a look at two particular components around here, I can select them and send other people to those two components on their canvas. So as you may see this is more like a camera icon, and over here we have an eye icon. This basically tells other canvases where to look. So if I select these components, just notice that if I select this one component and send everybody else to it, they will go to this component. If I select the three, then everybody else would go to the center point of the bounding box of this selection. So let's say if I select everything and send everybody looking, then they would look at everything just like that. The next button allows us to select particular components on other people's canvases. So let's say I want everybody to be able to see and visualize this particular sphere. So I can select it on everybody else's canvas. If they have some selection like this, and if I push this button on this canvas, it will reset everybody else's selection to the one that I have here. So if I select these two and say, let's take a look at them, there we go, you can do it. You can use these two components in tandem. if I want to take a look at what this component here is doing, maybe I'll just like choose these two, select them, and send everybody else looking. So this can have a little bit more like control and a bit more like ways of telling other people what you want to do with your canvas. Right. And the last button, it basically displays a little bit of like metadata on your canvas about what other people and what you have been doing with these components, right? So let's say if I want to take a look at all of these nice components here. If I have this component made by somebody in 16 minutes ago, well, I can display it. Well, let's say I'm going to start changing a couple of the components around here. I'm going to wire it from here. Maybe I'll wire this from here too. User number 4 is going to move this component here, and it's going to move these out of the way. And I'm going to move this component around here. And now let's take a look at our information. We have this component made by user number 1 17 minutes ago. It was updated by user number 2. It was moved by user number 4. And it was wired by user number 2. Apparently user number 3 didn't do anything about this component. So this is going to give us a little bit more information on what's going on in our canvas. And yeah, that's basically it. This works for drawings and scribbles too. So this scribble was made originally by user number 1, but user number 2 changed the contents. So this is an extra layer of information that might come in handy for a collaboration. Let's say you want to know who built this component, that you want to ask them, so what was their like logic behind making a component like here and what their script was about. So that works. And yeah, that's basically the extra features that come with the current version of RemoSharp for these kinds of information exchange. Yep. So thank you very much for watching this very long video, and if you liked it, please hit the like button down there, and your subscription, of course, is very appreciated as it is in YouTube, culture. Yep. So, yeah, hope to see you in the next videos. See ya.